What's up and welcome into the new video where we will discuss how to crush your opponents right in the openings, and we are gonna take a look at the two great games played in the past. The first game is played between Nimzoswitsch versus Alapin. The first moves is the Sicilian defense, and after some fairly common first moves, just development, I decided to trade off the knights, and there he went bishop to e3. Black recaptured, and here he played pawn to a6. Well, the move pawn to a6 is common, it's natural, it prevents white from eventually going knight b5, threatening to jump there onto c7, and nevertheless pay attention to the fact that black still hasn't developed any of his minor pieces. They're still on the lost rank, and it always should be a warning sign for you. On the other hand, if your opponent plays like that, if they pursue some other ideas at the cost of development, it gives you a hint that you may think of the attacking opportunities. And in this game, Nimzoswitsch sacrificed the pawn by playing bishop to e2. He's developing a piece, preparing bishop to f3 potentially, and also sacrificing the pawn because that just helps white to develop one more piece with a tempo. The queen has to retreat and white plays queen to d2. And at this point, the black's position is not losing, but it's already unpleasant. White is ahead in development, he's ready to castle, then his rook will go to g1 to gain even one more tempo, attacking the black's queen along the g-file, and you know, it's already unpleasant. Black thought about his position and decided to play e5 to at least drive away one of the white's attacking pieces backward, and after that to possibly go knight to c6 and to develop his pieces normally. However, white played another cool move. He just castled. He sacrifices this knight on d4, knowing that when you're ahead in development, it's actually good for you to open up the files so that you can start attacking your opponent's king directly, because you need to have the open files and diagonals for your pieces to deliver that attack. And therefore, he's ready to sacrifice the knight, but to gain even greater development and to open up even more lines. Now, after black won the piece but opened up the e-file, white is ready to go rook e1 and start the direct assault. Black played knight to c6 because anyway, sooner or later they need to develop, and at this point white played a really beautiful shot, bishop to f6. Quite an unusual move, and it prepares. Right now the threat is queen to d8, and after the exchange on d8 it's going to be checkmate. Let me just play any random move for black just to show you the white's idea. Let me execute it on the board. So, oops, not here, queen to d8. And after that, after the exchange, this is checkmate. So that is the white's intention here. Of course, black should try doing something against this. In the game, they just took the bishop with a queen, which is the most obvious move. It's interesting that bishop e7 doesn't stop the white's threat at all, even though it looks like it covers the square, but white firstly trades off the knight, and after that he still plays queen d8 no matter what. And after the exchange, it's going to be still the same variation that we have already seen. It's pretty cool. Anyway, let's take a few moves back. In this position, in the actual game, instead of bishop to e7, black just captured the bishop. Right now, white continues his attack by playing rook to e1, bringing his last piece into play. It's also check to the black's king, and what can black do now? He played bishop to e7. If black tried covering his king with the other bishop, with a light-squared bishop, then white can deliver another beautiful checkmate, queen d7, taking advantage of the pin, that the black's bishop is pinned, it can't make moves, and therefore this is checkmate. Let's take one move back here and let's see what black played in the actual game. Instead of bishop e6, they covered their king with the dark square bishop. In this case, white still takes that knight on c6. If black recaptures, there is another similar and still beautiful checkmate, queen d8. This time the dark square bishop is pinned, but overall the motif is the same. It's quite cool how we've got so many different tactical shots and interesting motifs within just a few moves here. In the actual game, they played king to f8, trying to escape with a king. And right now, let me ask you to think about this. Can you find the winning move for white here? Like the pin already is not there, therefore you have to look for some other tactical motif. And the solution is queen to d8. Still, white is deflecting the bishop, and after that, the white's rook goes inside, rook to e8, checkmating the black's king. Really cool game, which shows that, first of all, it's really important to develop in the opening, and when your opponent is not following that, classical guideline, you need to prioritize quick development and try to open up the position as soon as you can so that you can start delivering the straightforward attacking blows. And before we move on to the second game of today's video, let me invite you to join us, because right now we have opened up enrollment for the course Calculate Till Mate. It is the course that helps you to master calculation, also the visualization skills so that you can visualize the lines easily in your head while calculating them, and also to master the tactical skills so that you can find the tactical shots not only while solving tactical drills but in your own practical games just as well. And right now we are enrolling the next group of students. You can join us right now, and after that you'll get access to me, to the course, to the other students, and together we'll work on improving of your skills. The second game was played between Planinets and Puts. White played pawn e4, it's Caro-Kann defense. After that, knight of c3, developing a piece, and here black played knight f6, one of the main lines of the Caro-Kann. Here white played pawn to c3, bishop d6, bishop d3. So far everything looks fairly usual and standard, and it's interesting how white managed to launch a quick attack seemingly out of nothing. Like castled and white played queen to c2. Initially it looks like just a very straightforward one move threat, bishop takes h7, which black can obviously protect easily, but the point is, when black moves one of the pawns of his castle, it weakens the position of his castle, and later on white can use that to develop a more solid attack. But initially black just delivered the check, white covered the king, and black played pawn to g6 to cover the king. So far everything looks rock solid for black, but white takes advantage of that advanced pawn on g6 so that he can push his h-pawn, and not only to open the lines around the black skin, which is one of the good things that white can achieve after that, but even more importantly, it is the fact that white can include his rook from its initial position to start attacking black skin. And rook is a super powerful piece. Obviously, if you can include it into the attack without even moving it, what can be greater than that? Black played pawn to c5, looking for some counterplay. While in general it is a classical advice to counterattack in the center when your opponent starts the flank attack, in this case it's just a little bit too slow for black. White plays pawn to h5, continuing his plan, and he's already threatening to capture that pawn, and after that to actually open up the position around the black skin totally. For example, if black would go knight c6 or something else, white is ready to exchange there, to take bishop takes g6, and the checkmate will come very soon. Therefore, black can't go into this line. Let's make a couple moves back, and that is why instead of this, black played pawn to f5, trying to close the diagonal. Anyway, white traded the pawns and played pawn to g4, trying to just crack the black's position anyway. And the idea is still the same. In case black allows white, white would still take that pawn on g6, opening up the black's position and delivering the checkmate. Therefore, black played queen to c7. The move, which is quite interesting, it prepares a couple counter threats. One of them is pawn to c4, trying to trap the white's bishop, and the other one potentially is maybe to go queen to c6, trying to attack the white's rook on h1. Therefore, black is still also trying to fight, trying to find some way to counterattack. White goes bishop g5. Another cool move. White is not trying to take on f5 immediately, but instead he's developing one more piece, also simultaneously preparing the threat of bishop to f6, followed by rook h8 checkmate. But in addition, once again, white is just developing a piece, bringing one more piece into the attack, and also preparing his long side castling, which actually happened in the game. Black played queen to c6, attacking the white's rook in the corner, and white just castled. It's really cool for white that right now white cannot just protect the rook, but also finished their development. Black played pawn to c4, trying to capture the white's bishop, and at this point you may think about this for a few moments and think how you would play here as white. The point is, white can't play bishop f6 right away. Well, rather white can, but it's not winning right away because black has this bishop f4 check and capturing of the bishop later on. Therefore, that would only be an exchange of bishops, and it's not a checkmate. But white can just capture that pawn on c4 instead. And in this case, yeah, that is clearly winning. Black can't recapture, because in this case bishop f6 would be deadly, indeed. Now there is nothing that can stop white from rook h8 checkmate on the next move. Therefore, black can't capture the bishop, and he just played bishop to f8. White played queen b3, this time to also threaten the pawn on f7 and simultaneously to protect their bishop. Black played queen to c7, trying to protect the pawn, but white played another brilliant sacrifice, bishop takes f7. In this case, this is only a temporary sacrifice, because after black captures with a queen, white also temporarily sacrifices the rook on h8, and after that queen takes f7, attacking a whole lot in the black's position and preparing checkmate after bishop f6 or rook h1 or something like this, and black just resigned. What I find interesting about this game, it's how white created that attack out of nothing seemingly. I just took a couple moves back, closer to the beginning of the game, where the black's position of his king looks super solid. They even have one extra pawn to their castling, so that it just looks rock solid. But nevertheless, white found a way to first of all provoke black to push one of the pawns forward, and after that they use this pawn as an object for an attack, and it helps white to kick off their attack really fast. I hope that you enjoyed these two beautiful games. Give it a like if you did enjoy it. Also, if you're interested, you can click the link below the video and join the course Calculate Till Mate, which is open for enrollment right now, and you can get in with all the discounts and bonuses. And I look forward to talk to you soon.